As a child, we fall down time and time again, and we get back up. But as we age, why do we develop this fear that once we experience some sort of failure, we will never get back up? How many of you are afraid of failure? A few of you. I used to fear this as well, but over time, I eventually changed my mindset. My name is Vanessa Eslava. I am a civil engineer, and I have been working in the field for almost a decade. And let me tell you, I absolutely love it. I have been able to work on projects that help my community. One project in particular is a pedestrian underpassing nearby an elementary school. And as simple as it sounds, careers in STEM make a difference. And yet there are less people pursuing a career in STEM. According to the Stevens Institute of Technology, their need for STEM is about 34%. And yet there are less than 40% of people pursuing a career in STEM and ultimately graduating with a degree in their chosen field, while about 1/5 of students drop out of college altogether. Why is that? This is the fear of failure mentality, and we can't avoid failure. I look back and think about all those who dropped out of STEM and wonder, how did I get here? How did I achieve success after experiencing such disappointment and unsuccessful outcomes time and time again? Today, I will share with you the moments, the valuable lessons of fortitude and tenacity, and how overcoming your fear of failure can ultimately lead you to achieving your goals. I grew up as the eldest daughter in an Asian American household. And as many of you may or may not know, being the eldest daughter in an Asian American household meant that you had to meet very, very high standards. And in other words, it meant that you needed to be perfect. The idea of failure was something I could never let happen, and I did not want to disappoint my parents. And if you've ever watched the movie Encanto, you may relate to the older sisters of Maribel. One of the older sisters, Luisa, she had the special ability of being so strong that she could carry the weight of just about anything. But later, she revealed that the pressure of being the strongest sibling was getting to her. She had to learn to accept the help from her family and not simply rely on her own strength. The other sister, Isabella, had the perfect life, where everything she touched were beautiful flowers that were placed gracefully. And it wasn't until Maribel confronted her sister that she realized that she didn't need to be perfect. She made an ugly cactus. And if you are an eldest daughter and never feel that you are failing, know that you are valuable. And if you keep this idea that there's no going back after failing, you may face the negatives of the fixed mindset. And I recall a time when I took AP chemistry. I thought I was going to succeed in this class with all the success that I've had in school thus far. And unfortunately, I ended up with a C. And I literally thought my life was over. The self-doubt crept in, and it was at this moment that I had faced academic failure. But unfortunately, if you ever experience a moment where there's pressure of academic perfection, know that you're okay. And as you can see, I'm here experiencing failure as I am going through this presentation, but I'm going to keep going and do the best that I can. And unfortunately, with the pressure of academic perfection, suicide is the leading cause of Asians ages 15 to 24 in the US. And if you are struggling mentally, know that it's okay and call 988 before it's too late. And as many of you may know, my life did not end after AP Chemistry, nor did my struggles and failures. I look back and think about my journey and wonder, how did I get here? I've had the chance to believe that maybe engineering was not for me. Maybe I'm not meant to keep going. And maybe the doubts of people who thought that women in engineering crept in. And according to a survey of the American Society of Quality, 58% of girls believe that they are afraid and uncomfortable when it comes to facing a difficult problem in school. But know that I have experienced multiple failures, and it's okay to keep going, even if you fail. One of my failures, besides AP Chemistry, was to pass physics. When I tried to pass physics the first time, I had failed. When I tried to pass Physics 2, I had failed. The engineering and training exam, I took it 6 times before passing. And yet again, with the professional engineering exam, I took it again and again and again. It took me a total of 6 tries before passing. And despite all my setbacks, I have been able to graduate with my engineering degree. Go Aztecs. And have been able to garner such awards as the 2022 ASE New Faces of Civil Engineering and the Top 50 of Women in Engineering in the San Diego Business Journal, just to name a few. And although it was not an instant that I would pick myself back up after each failure and setback, I would talk to people and realize that it was okay to fail. It was okay to keep going after every failure. And when I was struggling to pass physics, I went to seek help by talking to a counselor. And in that video, she shared with me a video of Michael Jordan, the GOAT. And in that video, I recall him saying that I have failed over and over and over again. And that is why I succeed. Hearing him say this for the first time flipped a switch in my brain. As many of us think of people's successes and not about the struggles that got them to where they are today. And it was in this video that I realized that I needed to keep going. Hearing that quote as a constant reminder was how I was able to push through and achieve my goals. Whenever you are struggling, think about your why. What goals do you want to take, and what do you need to do to get there? For me, I wanted to become a civil engineer, to be able to provide for the public and be able to design the infrastructure around us. And to do that, I needed to become a civil engineer. And surprisingly, when I would talk to my peers, I realized that I was not alone, that many of us were wishing that we were just above the curve and that the highest grades were barely over 60%. And when it came to taking the engineering and training exam and the professional engineering exams, the more I talked to people in my industry, the more I realized that it really didn't matter how many attempts it took, but whether or not I passed, that mattered. Success may be grand, but disappointment can often teach us much more, as Henry Petrowski says. And I've experienced multiple disappointments, and yet I am still here today. How many of you are Marvel fans? Which Marvel character do you think of when it comes to being successful? Yes. Many of you may say Iron Man, and interestingly, not all of Iron Man's suits were made perfect the first try. Many of them are actually considered failures. But did that stop him? I stumbled a couple times during this presentation, but did that stop me? Tony Stark went on to create roughly 90 suits, and with each failed suit, he invested time into himself and developed a better suit each time. And it's because we experience failure that we learn from it. And as Angela Duckworth once said, the most successful people are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who learn from their failures. And if we continue to believe that failure is not a fixed way of life, we eventually change our mindset. And when we change our mindset, we develop the growth mindset. And as Carol Dweck once said, the growth mindset allows people to value what we're doing regardless of the outcome. So, I want to share with you a few reminders to adjust your mindset. Cultivate a sense of purpose. Value effort over talent. Growth over speed. Cultivate perseverance. And appreciate the process over results. So, how do you achieve your success? You need to learn to break your fear of failure and develop a growth mindset. Appreciate each step to get one step better than you were before. And know that failure is part of the journey. And you need to keep trying to eventually be successful. And with that said, don't let the self-doubt and struggles, failures, and setbacks stop you from achieving your goals, and especially a career in STEM. Thank you.